There we go. Okay, so hello and welcome to our Zoom education session on preparing for the holidays. So thank you for joining us for this discussion. It's certainly starting to feel like the holidays outside with the snow, and I think everyone might be starting to feel that crunch of Christmas and Christmas shopping coming. So the holidays can be a busy and really an overwhelming time for anyone. But especially for people living with dementia and their caregivers. You know, the holidays can be busy and sometimes a stressful time. So with some modifications to our regular traditions, we can make the holidays more enjoyable for everyone. So we are so glad that you could make it to be with us today as we explore some helpful tips that can make this holiday season as stress-free as possible. So my name is Shelby Berry. And with me today is Chris Van Leuven, and we are both education coordinators here at the Alzheimer's Society of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, and Haliburton. So we recognize that throughout our discussion today, there may be several questions that come up, questions or comments. So just in the interest of time, and because I'm not always able to see the chat pod while I'm sharing my screen, we will ask that you hold your questions or comments until the end of the presentation. So feel free to jot something down that you'd like to ask or write it in the chat pod, and we will be sure to look at that at the end of the presentation and have some time for questions and discussion then. So thank you so much in advance for that. So for many people, the holidays are for spending time with the most important people in our lives, you know, spending that time laughing, sharing memories, and making new memories. For some people, though, the holidays can be stressful, you know, particularly if you're a caregiver or a person living with dementia. Caregivers and persons with dementia may experience disappointment or even sadness during the holidays due to cognitive and functional changes of the person living with dementia. Unfamiliar places, large groups of people, noise, and a hectic pace can also create a lot of anxiety for the person living with dementia over the holiday season, because this can be very much out of their normal routine. Caregivers may also start to feel overwhelmed or anxious if they're trying to maintain those special holiday traditions as well. So in our time together today, we will talk about various tips and strategies for modifying or adapting your holiday plans to make them more dementia friendly and hopefully, less stressful and more enjoyable for everyone.
Thanks, Shelby. So the first tip that we're going to touch on today is to plan your celebrations. So as Shelby mentioned, the holiday season can cause some mixed feelings for people living with dementia and for their care partners. And while it's typically a time for celebration, families might experience a sense of loss for the way things used to be. For care partners, the holidays may create some added work as the needs of the person who's living with dementia are going to require some special consideration. However, with careful planning and by adjusting expectations and modifying some of our usual traditions, it's possible to find meaningful ways to celebrate the holidays. One adaptation to consider is the timing of those celebrations and events. So typically, holiday gatherings can take place kind of later in the day or at night, and this can be a little tiring for somebody who's living with dementia. Instead, maybe consider scheduling your celebration in the morning or in the middle of the day so that the person that you're visiting feels refreshed and relaxed. Every person with dementia is different though, so check in with them or check in with their care partner about what works best for them. The next point here is to be mindful of the length of the celebration. A shorter time frame might be better. However, it's important not to rush through the visit either. If you're feeling stressed, the person who's living with dementia is going to feel that stress too. Pacing the activities throughout the visit is going to help everybody to feel a little more relaxed. Our second tip is to consider smaller gatherings. More interactions mean more stimulation. And although social activity is really a good thing, that extra stimulation can be a little overwhelming, especially for somebody who's in the later stages of dementia. If you're coordinating with other family members or friends, try staggering your visits rather than having everybody go at the same time. And that way, the visit will be easier and more enjoyable for the person who's living with dementia. If you're attending a celebration that somebody else is hosting, you can consider joining in for the most important part of that celebration. So maybe you want to be there for just the meal, or maybe you want to be there for just the gift exchange. If you're meeting in person, include a quiet area where the person could retreat and have a little bit of quiet time. And maybe if it's needed, you could have one person keep them company in that quiet space.
A third tip for visiting someone living with dementia over the holidays is to understand the stage and help others know what to expect. So for family members and friends, it is important to know that people with dementia progress through different stages of the disease. And knowing which stage they're in, or roughly which stage, sometimes it can be hard to kind of pinpoint, can help you to plan your visit accordingly. So as dementia progresses, due to changes in the brain, particularly the memory centers of the brain, the person you're visiting may not recognize you as someone they know. Depending on the stage of the disease, you may need to introduce yourself and share, why you're there and the purpose for the visit. No matter what stage the person is in, it's important to remember that respectful and caring communication is really what is key here. And knowing which stage they're in can really help to plan that visit accordingly and to plan ahead. So check in with the primary caregiver or caregivers if needed to get all the information that you need that might be helpful before the visit. So let's talk a bit more about some tips for care partners here. So as the holidays approach, it may be helpful to speak with family members and friends about what to expect in terms of changes in the person living with dementia, particularly with those that may not have seen or spoken to the person in quite a while. And this may certainly be the case given the pandemic. It can really help to let friends and family know ahead of time what to expect and help them to be prepared and well informed. So if the person is in the early stages of dementia, relatives may not notice any changes, or the changes may be quite subtle. If the person with dementia experiences difficulty following conversations, or they have a tendency to repeat themselves, it can be helpful to encourage friends and family to assist in making that communication more successful. So this could include having conversations with friends and family about helpful tips like being patient, not interrupting or correcting the person. So if the person's sharing a story about a past Christmas memory and some of the details aren't right, it can be helpful to share with family that the details don't really matter. The fact that they're sharing the story and reminiscing is what's really important here. And also giving the person time to finish their thoughts and finish, what they're saying in the conversation. So it's really important, again, to not jump in those conversations. If the person is in the middle or later stages of dementia, family and friends may notice more significant changes in the person's cognition and functional abilities, especially if it's been a while since their last conversation with the person. So these changes may be a bit more difficult to understand and accept. So try to ensure that friends and family members understand that the changes in the behavior they notice or witness, particularly as they pertain to the person's behavior and memory, are caused by the disease process. And it's not the person choosing to respond that way. So that can be a really helpful message to let people know about, is that they are not behaving that way on purpose and that it's a reflection of the disease process. So sharing changes to expect could be done in a letter, an email, or a phone call to family or friends prior to seeing the person with dementia. You may wish to include various things like information about the changes they can expect to see, perhaps a picture of the person with dementia if they haven't seen them in a while and they look different. You could include a note about their level of difficulty with remembering and thinking clearly, a note about any unpredictable behaviors or confusion that they might possibly see, and even some tips for helping to make the visit a good one. So again, doing all of this beforehand can be really helpful for informing family members about what to expect. It can also be helpful if visitors who are maybe attending or coming to your house to call in advance and let you know that they are arriving soon, so that you can then prepare for their arrival with the person with dementia. So one of the most important considerations when planning for the holidays and during holiday preparations is to be realistic and willing to adjust our expectations. So the stress of caregiving responsibilities alone can be a lot. It can be quite overwhelming. When a caregiver is providing support to a person with dementia, we often wear many different hats. So add to that the stress of trying to maintain holiday traditions, especially during this ever-changing pandemic. And again, it can be a lot of different layers of stress that can certainly take their toll on caregivers and the person living with dementia over the holiday season. So it really is important for everyone to take care of themselves over the holiday season. So pay attention to your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, and check in with yourself. Think, where are you holding stress in your body? Are your shoulders tight? Is your neck tight? Or is that a physical sign of stress for you? Is your mood stable, or is it, fluctuating more than normal? Or what emotions are you experiencing, or perhaps trying not to experience? So checking in with ourselves to see what our stress levels are at, and if we need to maybe change some of our expectations there. It can also be helpful to have a group discussion over the telephone, video call, or email for family and friends to discuss holiday plans in advance of the holiday gathering or the celebration. So doing that, well beforehand. And make sure family members and friends have a good understanding of your caregiving situation and the challenges that may be involved, and how that maybe perhaps might limit your involvement. So really having a good conversation about the caregiving situation and what that means for you this holiday season. While having that conversation with family and friends in advance of the holidays, again, this might be a good time to let others know about the changes that they might expect to see with the person with dementia. And again, having that advance notice about what they can expect will help family and friends to adjust their expectations and to offer support and understanding where needed. And as a caregiver, it is important to set, reasonable and manageable expectations of what you can and cannot do. So this involves giving yourself permission to do only what you can do and what you feel is reasonable, realistic, and safe. So this could mean that gatherings are limited, or that they happen in smaller groups, or it may even mean that gatherings don't happen at all. So family members and friends should understand that you may not be able to maintain every holiday tradition and attend every holiday event. So we certainly know around this time of year, the calendar can fill up quickly. So it can be really helpful to kind of check in and see what is manageable to take on. It is also important to consider the timing of holiday preparations and celebrations and how the time of day can impact the person with dementia. So for example, consider decorating your home gradually so the changes are less jarring for the person with dementia. If the person experiences confusion or agitation in late afternoon or evening hours, perhaps consider planning the holiday celebration for earlier in the day to account for that late day restlessness. So as we all know, children love the holidays and they can bring a lot of energy and excitement to holiday functions. And this can easily be shared with everyone that's at the gathering, including those living with dementia. So here are some tips for involving children and pets in those holiday celebrations. So discuss with the child what dementia is and what to expect, and listen to the child's feelings and concerns and kind of how they're receiving that information and what it means to them. Explain to the child that during the visit, they should speak clearly, avoid arguing, and ask for help anytime. So this can be really helpful depending on the age of the child if they can do that. Bring along a quiet activity that the child and the person with dementia could do together, such as a jigsaw puzzle or looking through a book, maybe some favorite Christmas books, for example. And beforehand, have the child make something for the person with dementia and give them that during the visit. So perhaps it's some cookies that they made, or a Christmas craft, or a Christmas ornament. So that can be a really great moment to share that gift with the person with dementia. And pets can also provide comfort and fun for people with dementia. They can also provide that connection with someone who perhaps is having trouble communicating verbally. So if you're visiting someone in a long-term care home as well, be sure to check their rules first regarding animals coming into the home. And now Chris is going to talk about some meaningful gift ideas over the holiday season.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, so what is the holiday season without a little bit of gift giving? And now that the month of December is almost upon us, right around the corner, many of us are on the hunt for the perfect gifts for the special people in our lives. If someone on your list has dementia, it can be a little challenging to think of gifts that are appropriate given the person's changing abilities. But no matter the stage of the disease, the right gift exists that can bring them joy and support their quality of life. Gifts that are unique to the individual can make the experience of gift giving a little more meaningful for both of you. Over the next several slides, we're going to go through some gift giving considerations, some suggestions, and some ideas for people living with dementia and their care partners. So when we're selecting the gift for a person living with dementia, remember that dementia is a condition that progresses in stages. So for those people that are in the earlier stage of dementia, ideal gifts are ones that can stimulate the mind, encourage remembrance, and promote socialization. These can help keep the person active and can actually slow the progression of the disease. Other ideas are assistive products for independent living that can also be helpful. For people that are in the middle to the later stages of the disease, simple gifts that provide sensory stimulation are often the best choice. And these kinds of gifts can help promote pleasant memories and feelings. No matter the stage, keep in mind that just because the person is living with dementia doesn't mean that they can't enjoy things that they used to. Think about the person's unique interests, their likes and their dislikes, and try to personalize your gift as much as possible. If you're unsure, you can consult with that person's caregiver beforehand about whether the gift you're considering would be suitable. And if you're not sure where to begin, I'm going to give some stage-specific gift advice over the next slides. For care partners, you may find that friends and family members are going to come to you for advice on what to get for a person living with dementia. You can be prepared to field these questions by just taking some time, spending a few moments, and creating a bit of a wish list. You can provide people with suggestions for useful and enjoyable gifts for the person. And you can take that opportunity to also kind of advise them away from gifts like tools that could be a little dangerous, or board games that might be a little too challenging, or any electronics that are a little too complicated. Depending on the person's abilities and their preferences, involve the person in gift giving. For example, someone who once enjoyed baking might also enjoy helping to make or to decorate cookies and pack them in tins or boxes. Or you might want to buy a gift so that the person can help by wrapping. If friends or family members ask you about what you would like for a gift as a care partner, you might want to suggest a gift certificate or something that would help make things easier for you, for like house cleaning, maybe some lawn maintenance, handyman or laundry services, or even restaurant or food delivery gift cards. We're going to have some more tips for the caregiver coming up a little later in the presentation as well. Let's talk a bit about some gift ideas for people who are living with dementia and are still in those early stages. So these types of things are helpful to remember things, like maybe reminder notices, or help to remember things like upcoming appointments and events. So you might want to consider some different reminder tools, like a reminder pad that has a magnet on the back and can stick to your refrigerator, or Post-it notes in an array of fun colors. You can also get Post-it notes that are in different shapes and different sizes. You could consider getting an erasable whiteboard that can be put up in visible areas to help list upcoming reminders, appointments, or any other commitments. A small pocket-sized planner or notebook. You could also grab some different decorative baskets or trays that can be labeled within cabinets or drawers to help keep things organized in their kitchen or their craft room. You could also grab a memorable calendar, and you can even create calendars where you use family photos and feature those special family occasions. Some other gift giving ideas for people with dementia in the early stages are ones that can be helpful with everyday tasks. So a suggestion here is a memory phone that can store pictures of your most common contacts with their contact information. So that could be people that are families or friends, or maybe your doctor. You could also consider an automatic medication dispenser that can help the person with dementia to remember to take their meds. A nightlight that can come on automatically when it gets dark. So that's one thing that they have to remember to do and can help them to navigate their home at nighttime. Or a clock with the date and time in large font to help them remember their appointments, or to know what time it is throughout the day. Here are some gift-giving ideas for people with dementia in the early stages that might help to keep the person engaged. So you could pick up some of their favorite musical CDs, or CDs are becoming a little hard to find anymore, a little hard to find something to play them on. But you could also load up an iPod or an MP3 player with their favorite songs, or put some of their favorite songs on their phone. You could consider picking up a DVD collection of their favorite movies, or sometimes you can get a whole TV series in a box set. You could also consider a gift card for an online streaming service like Netflix or Disney Plus, something along that lines. You could consider giving them some materials for activities like scrapbooking. You can get different craft kits like a birdhouse building kit or other craft projects. Or you could consider getting them some puzzles. I know puzzles were a really big hit in my family during the pandemic when we were at home. We often had a jigsaw puzzle on the go. For somebody living with dementia, you can consider getting a puzzle that has bigger pieces, so it's just a little bit easier to put together. Here's some gift giving suggestions for people in the middle to later stages of dementia that can help provide some of that sensory stimulation that I mentioned before. So the first one on our list here is scented creams or lotions. So now that that cold weather is upon us and our furnaces are running constantly, we're noticing that the air inside our houses is quite dry, which can lead to that dry, cracked skin. Lotions and creams can be both practical and an indulgence. You can choose a scent that the person enjoys or a scent that might bring up some memories for them, like of a favorite activity. So you can get lotion that is maybe vanilla scented or cinnamon scented if they enjoyed baking, or you can pick up a spruce or cedar scented lotion if they enjoyed being outside in the woods. If the person is sensitive to scent, which is often the case, you can choose an unscented variety and perhaps offer either a hand massage or a foot massage for a spa-like experience. You can also consider something cozy to wear, like a soft, fluffy bathrobe in their favorite color. You could get a soft blanket or Afghan to keep warm. Another suggestion is to get a hot water bottle buddy, and maybe you've seen these in the stores before, but it's a plush, usually a stuffed animal shape that has a holder for a hot water bottle on the inside, and it's nice to cuddle. You could also, again, with people who are in the middle to late stages, they also still enjoy music. So you could consider some of those CDs or also loading up an iPod or an MP3 player or a phone with some of their favorite songs by their favorite artists as well. And same here with this group, they may enjoy some DVDs or of their favorite shows or movies, or also they may enjoy being able to access that Disney Plus or Netflix or Amazon Prime, one of those streaming services too. Here are some other great gift ideas for people in the middle to later stages of dementia. You could consider putting together some framed photographs for the person, or you could even get creative and make a bit of a collage and you could label the names of the people in the photo. Another suggestion is that comfortable, easy to remove, easily washable clothing. You could look for shoes with Velcro fasteners. And if the person likes to go outside in the winter, perhaps a pair of lightweight waterproof boots with Velcro closures would be useful, or an overshoe that can be worn outside and it goes over your regular shoes or a pair of slippers. Another consideration is to give the gift of Medical Alert. So the Medical Alert program is a 24-hour nationwide emergency response service that helps protect people who are living with dementia in the event that they go missing or wander. And it helps them also in medical emergencies. So those are just some of those extra gift giving ideas for people in the middle to late stages. And now Shelby's going to talk a little bit about those gift ideas for caregivers.
Thank you, Chris. So people are often looking for great gift-giving ideas for caregivers as well. So here are some important ones to consider. So let's start with some ideas related to giving the gift of time. So this could involve making some self-made coupons. So for things like help with cleaning the house, providing or cooking some meals for the caregiver. Mowing the lawn could be an example of a gift of time, or perhaps shoveling the driveway now that the snow is here. So really the goal here is giving the caregiver some time off to do something to meet their needs. So often we hear from caregivers, they may have some time to get out, perhaps there's some support coming in or something, but that time is often spent, doing errands, getting the groceries, going to appointments. So actually having some time to get out and do something for themselves can be quite limited. So the gift of time can be a great gift idea in an area that you think would be most helpful to the caregiver. Other gift ideas for caregivers can include gift cards or gift certificates. So you could consider gift certificates for things like their favorite restaurant, perhaps for laundry or dry cleaning services, or those lawn care services that we just talked about. You could consider gift cards for computer or technology support, or some cleaning services, or gift cards related to personal pampering. So this could be, massages or manicures. So we often hear from caregivers that when the person was diagnosed with dementia, and as it progressed, that the caregiver took on some new, maybe unanticipated roles. So, perhaps they never used to do the cooking, and now they're doing the cooking. Perhaps they never used to do the lawn maintenance or the repairs around the house, and that's something that they now do. So you could think of gift cards that could help with some of those areas, with a task that maybe they're taking on that they didn't used to do before. So that could help to pick a gift card. And also consider coupling the gift of time with a gift card. So, giving the person the gift card, but maybe also offering to come and spend, a couple of hours with the person with dementia, so that the caregiver has a chance to actually go out and use that gift card. Because otherwise it might just kind of get tucked away and not used. So coupling those two things together can be really helpful. Also, you can also consider some of these personalized gifts for caregivers too. So this could include novels on the caregiver's must-read list, resources on caregiving if there's anything that they've mentioned that they want to read, a magazine subscription for their favorite magazine, e-readers or subscriptions to an audiobook platform. So the e-readers could be the Kobo or the Kindle. And the audiobook platforms are things like Audible that you may have heard about. And for caregivers who want to kick back and relax with a favorite TV show or a movie, you could purchase a yearly subscription to one of the many online streaming services that are available, such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Crave, Disney Plus. There's so many out there now. There's really an endless list. So this way the caregiver can relax and watch their favorite shows and movies at a time that is convenient for them. So hopefully those are some good ideas for some caregiver gifts this holiday season. So shifting gears and going back to our tips. So all of those gift giving ideas were one tip. So now we're going to move to tip number 7. So setting the scene is tip number 7 for visiting with someone with dementia over the holidays. So wherever your visit takes place, try to do your best to provide that comfortable setting for the person with dementia. So consider these important points that will help to set that scene for the positive visit. So it is very helpful for the person living with dementia if we can ensure that the space where we are meeting is well lit. When a space is well lit, it really helps to limit those shadows in those darkened areas, which could cause the room to have an unsettling appearance for the person with dementia. We also want to try our best to use soft, warm lighting that will reduce glare and that won't strain the eyes. So doing so will help to make the visit more peaceful and allow the person with dementia to focus on the people there and the interaction that's taking place. One of the easiest ways to also make the environment more welcoming is to reduce or remove sources of background noise. So turning off the TV, turning down the music, we might think it's the holidays, we should really blare the Christmas music. It's okay to have that on, but we want to just be mindful of the volume or, making sure that the speaker isn't right by the person living with dementia. So considering some of those things as well. Also consider, closing the door to reduce distractions. Maybe everyone's talking in the kitchen and it's a really busy hub of conversation and you're trying to speak with the person with dementia and it's kind of hard to hear. So making that space a bit quieter. Also clear out pathways from snow and ice outside so that it's easier to get into the home, and making sure that inside the home things are clear as well. So making sure that there aren't any tripping hazards and really trying to clear out as much clutter as possible. It can also be helpful to clearly mark the bathrooms for the person with dementia to make it easier for the person to locate that if they need to. So this could involve, putting a sign up, sometimes even just a picture of a toilet can be helpful so that the person knows that that's the direction that they can go into to find. Our 8th tip for visiting with someone with dementia over the holiday season is to find opportunities to do things together. So find an activity that you can do together that speaks to the person's talents and interests and abilities. A fun and festive activity could be baking, their favorite holiday treats, or perhaps decorating the tree together. It could involve singing along to some of their favorite holiday music. So you know the person best. So thinking about some of those holiday activities or traditions that they might like to do is great. If the weather outside isn't frightful, consider going for a walk together so they can, get a breath of fresh air and really appreciate the winter wonderland that is now upon us. And if you're visiting a long-term care home, ask the staff if there's any, special holiday events going on that you and the person with dementia could attend together. If you are a person with dementia, do try to think about what you would most like to do for the preparations for the holidays and communicate that as best as possible. So some people like stirring the batter, they like making cards, they like choosing the music or wrapping the gifts. There are many different options, so communicating what you would like to do. If you are a caregiver, be sure to try to involve the person with dementia in the preparations, especially with tasks that they still enjoy doing or a modification of that task so that they can still be involved. And again, keep everyone's favorite foods in mind, while also being mindful that too much rich food can sometimes result in discomfort. So sometimes, we always have to hit the couch after that holiday gathering. That can be quite common as well. If gift giving is part of the celebration, make sure everyone is included in that activity as well. Often there are gift exchanges that happen. So if we're purchasing those gifts in advance, purchase a little gift for the person with dementia to be involved in that as well. So they could, hand that to whoever it's for and be involved in that activity too. And do things that have meaning, such as looking at old family photographs or singing favorite songs. Reminiscing about past celebrations and holiday events can really bring about a lot of joy and laughter over the holiday season.
Hey, so now we have made it to tip number 9 in our list. So when we're talking about participation, as Shelby just was, we want to keep in mind that the activities that we're planning should be ones that the person is interested in doing. Once you have a list of activities in mind, ask the person with dementia what they think. By encouraging that person living with dementia to make decisions about how to spend their time together, you can enhance their independence and you can enhance their self-esteem. It can be a good idea to limit choices if the person's having a hard time responding to those open-ended questions. So you can try asking, would you like to watch a movie or would you rather sit and chat? And if that's still too much choice, then you can try a yes or no question, such as, would you like to watch a movie now? And if gift giving is a part of the celebration, I'm sorry, I went back a page. All right, so now we're going to keep talking about keeping the person with dementia involved in our activities. So we want to make sure that they're involved in holiday planning and preparations because that involvement is positive and it's beneficial. It can help to keep the person engaged. It can get them into the holiday spirit, can elevate their mood to allow them to participate in those activities that they enjoy. And it's important to make sure that these activities are safe and that they're enjoyable, meaningful, and achievable. We want the person to feel stimulated and engaged, and at the same time, we want to avoid overwhelming them with activities that might be a little too challenging or maybe a little too demanding. So one tip is to ask the person with dementia to assist you with some of the food preparation. You can ask them to help with wrapping gifts and packages. You can ask them for their help decorating around the home, or maybe when it comes to mealtime, you can ask for their help setting the table. You might want to avoid using things like candies or artificial fruits and vegetables as decorations because a person living with dementia might confuse them with real food. So better to avoid that type of decoration. Also, be cautious when you're decorating in your home when it comes to those blinking lights. Those can be a little confusing or maybe a little overwhelming for a person living with dementia. When we're making our holiday plans, consider what's going to be most comfortable and enjoyable for the person living with dementia while also keeping their safety in mind. So we want to try and stick to the person's normal routine as much as we possibly can so that those holiday preparations don't become too disruptive to what they're used to, because that can cause a little bit more confusion as well. We want to focus on the things and the activities that bring happiness and joy, and we want to let go of those activities that are a little too overwhelming, stressful, or risky. Taking on too many tasks, even if they've always been tradition, can wear both on you as a caregiver and on a person living with dementia. And it can cause more stress and anxiety than enjoyment. It's also nice to reminisce about those past holiday memories and traditions and consider making new memories or traditions. You can think about incorporating some new traditions that involve creating a safer and less stressful environment. For example, maybe baking cookies or singing Christmas carols with the grandchildren can be a helpful way to modify our normal celebrations by just calming things down a little bit and doing tasks that are just less involved with less steps. And we're at our last tip on our list of tips. So this is just making time for self-care. So we don't want to overdo it. It might be tempting, either as a caregiver or as a person living with dementia, to go all out and to try and keep those traditions from years past going. But it's really important to pace ourselves. So we can, reach out for help. You can always ask a friend or a family member or a neighbor to help with shopping. You can consider shopping online and having gifts delivered directly to the person or to your home. And you can even use online shopping for groceries or an online meal delivery service. Now we all struggle with this when it comes to accepting help, but if somebody is offering to help you out, don't be afraid to accept it. If you have those friends or those family members that are willing to assist you, sometimes it's nice to be able to assign them specific tasks. And we're always grateful, and it's helpful also to explain to them how much of a difference their help and their assistance makes. Be sure to congratulate yourself. Recognize the work that you're doing and how much you mean to the person that you're caring for. And you can also be sure that the Alzheimer's Society is here for you, and you can use us as your lifeline. So if you need to talk to somebody about the stress that you're feeling, we're here and we understand what you're going through. So you can always reach out to us. If you already are a client, you can speak directly to your client support coordinator, and they can help you navigate the holiday season as well. I'm going to hand things back over to Shelby to talk a little bit about the differences in our holiday celebrations when the person we support is living in long-term care.
Thank you, Chris. So as mentioned earlier, there may be some specific things to consider if the person with dementia is in long-term care. So some suggestions here include to check ahead with the long-term care home about holiday policies. Talk to staff in advance, so they usually know best about what residents can handle, what they might be interested in doing around the long-term care home, and perhaps the best time of day for a visit with the person with dementia. Also, try your best to make the celebration simple. So it's your presence and that shared time together that's really important here. So keeping things as simple as possible, I think, is probably the theme today, but also the case when visiting someone in long-term care as well. Do group activities like going for walks together, or perhaps decorate their room together, maybe adding a few little festive decorations. You could bring a favorite book or a piece of music to read or sing together. And also, as we've mentioned before, reminiscing about past holidays or events that can help trigger those happy memories. And really sharing in those memories together can be a great way to spend a visit together. And then we also realize that many people have become accustomed to virtual visits since the onset of the pandemic. So many of us are well versed in Zoom calls and video chats and all of these different options. So here are a few tips to consider if you are having a virtual visit as part of your celebration this holiday season. So again, consider keeping it simple with perhaps one-on-one phone calls or video calls for the person with dementia, so that they only have one person to focus on the other end of the phone or the other end of the screen. If you are having a group call with more family members, consider having kind of like a loose agenda for the call, or a designated family member to serve as the facilitator. So this can really be helpful, having that agenda, so everyone has an idea of how the call will flow, and having someone serve as kind of a informal facilitator can also be helpful in terms of making sure that people aren't talking over one another and that there's one person talking at a time. So that can make it a lot easier for the person with dementia to follow on the video call. Also, find a quiet space. So again, reducing that background noise and ensuring that everyone's using the mute and unmute functions properly, so that there's not a lot of background noise on the call itself as well. Choosing a time of day that works best. So we've mentioned this a few times, but again, considering what time of day may work best for the person with dementia, because we really do want to try to keep the routine as consistent as possible. So maybe there's a certain time of day that would be the best there. Also be mindful of the length of the call. So the call does not have to be long. A short call might be good for the person with dementia to check in with some family members, or if you are having that larger group call, just kind of gauging and seeing how the person with dementia is doing, and again, adjusting expectations as needed. So perhaps they're going to join for the start of the call, and then if you notice that they perhaps need a break, then finding a spot for them to a quiet space for them to go while you continue with the call can be helpful too. And again, make it fun with, you could use a holiday themed dress code, like the ugly Christmas sweaters, or doing some simple activities. So this could again be sharing of favorite Christmas memories might be something that you do, or perhaps making a photo collage in PowerPoint or something like that that can be shared with everyone as well. So there are some fun things that you can do for virtual visits as well, or perhaps the person with dementia, this is their way of watching, their grandchildren or someone open their gifts virtually. That might be something fun to watch as well. So just some tips for virtual visits, if that's something that's still part of your celebrations this year. So that concludes our presentation today on preparing for the holidays. So we hope you had some help or got some helpful tips on some things that might make the holidays a bit easier this year. And we just want you to know that you are not alone. So the Alzheimer's Society is always here to help. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And you can always give us a call or talk to your client support coordinator as well. So here's a list of some of the resources that were used for today's presentation. Did you put these in the chat, Chris?
I don't know. I put one in the chat. I don't know. I think it might be the top one.
Okay, so I can add the bottom one to the chat as well when I stop sharing my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen to see